Although I grew up in a home that taught me about God, it took me a really long time to believe in Him. I didn't experience God for the first time until summer camp after 6th grade. It was one of the first times I had ever felt His presence, and that night I accepted God for the first time.
I grew up in a religious household, but I felt that my relationship with God wasn't completely mine.
While my faith was certainly growing, it wasn't until 9th grade when everything changed. Little did I know the amazing plans God had for me that year. In the fall of my freshman year, my parents asked if I was interested in attending the freshman-only Wednesday night programming. As soon as I left, I couldn't wait until the next week so I could come back.
I am an athlete. Many times when I am on the field, I am feisty and not the nicest person to play against. I vividly remember one game during 7th grade.
Although I left camp that week filled with an excitement for how God would change my life, that excitement quickly faded when I instead started a downward spiral that lasted nearly 2 years.
There was one message my pastor gave that will always stick with me. In this message, she told us to imagine a Rubik's Cube with all sides, different colors, and different combinations. In this illustration, God is holding the Rubik's Cube in His hands. Another person is there, but he can only see one side of the Rubik's Cube at a time. The person, on the other hand, can only see the two-dimensional view.
After running a play, one of the kids on Prior Lake just lost it. When he started pushing my team, my initial instinct was to defend them and push, but something inside me held me back, and I didn't question it.
Going back to school the fall of my 7th grade year made me forget about the God I had learned at camp. When I was upset and needed a release, I wrote sad poetry. And when that didn't work, I turned to what I thought was my only other choice, self-harm.
Some of my teammates wanted to fight, but I pulled them back and told everyone to walk away. Why did I feel inclined to pull back that time, when every other time I would engage without hesitation?
Soon my low self-confidence also caused me to go through phases of not eating. Instead of praying and leaning on God for the support, like I had learned to do at camp, I isolated myself.
The next morning, I woke up and remembered my mom telling me about the kid who lost his cool. She told me that his dad died the night before the game.
That summer after 7th grade, I returned to camp just like I did every year, and God reached out to me during one of my lowest points. There came a time in the week where my entire cabin got together to share testimonies, and before I could stop myself, I was telling my cabin mates everything that had happened over the past year and a half. After many tears and hugs, I decided it was finally time to rededicate my life to God.
My faith no longer was something based on how I was raised. It became my own. God nurtured my faith from a small, contained fire that wasn't growing much into a raging bonfire.
God had been looking over a child that was struggling and made sure that I wouldn't add to his pain. I learned that God was watching over me too.
Looking back, I can realize all the times when God was reaching out to me, and I just chose to ignore Him or convince myself that I had to do it all alone.
I couldn't help but be in awe of His power and majesty. That His ways are so above ours that we can't even comprehend them. Like the man who only has a two-dimensional view of the Rubik's Cube. And before I knew it, I found myself sitting in the front row of the church, hanging on every word my pastor said.
But just because I wasn't listening didn't mean He wasn't calling my name.
Before this, I had struggled with connecting religion to my daily life. But things like that don't just happen by chance.
Even though we have this God that is all-powerful and holy above all else, He still pursues me and all of us. In that moment, God captured my heart in a way I'll never forget.
The Bible shows the best way to live your life, and how you can be happy even when it seems like all hope is lost. I still have moments of weakness where I disobey, lie, treat others poorly, put possessions and idols before the Lord, and I still continue to fall short.
Accepting God didn't suddenly make my life amazing. Living life according to God's will isn't a quick and easy fix to all your problems. For many years, I saw going to church as a routine. Instead of being dragged to church on Sundays, I found myself craving the time I could spend with God. Being religious means actually talking to God and having a relationship with Him.
His desire to know us is more than we can ever imagine.
Back then, I didn't realize how deep His love for me was.
But the beauty of the situation is, God still loves you and me, no matter what.
Hi, I'm Logan.
I'm Abby.
I'm Cade.
And this is my story.
And this is my story.
And this is my story.